Welcome all. This is the transit sun gate for this week of September 21st, Sunday. And this is about gate 46. And this is the eclipse occurring, the solar eclipse happening here in the Pacific coast. It will be, if I'm remembering correctly, at 12:41 p.m. And it'll begin in a couple hours with the sun opposing Saturn, with Saturn opposing the sun. And this opposition between Saturn and the sun is an age-old battle of the old sun and the new. And so there's a mythological, historical dynamic playing out, almost like a old enemy war, playing out a tension. And the tensions here are multifaceted and multi-layered because as I've went over and over again this year, everything is playing out on this Aries vortex. And in the human design graph, it's located in gate 25, which is the battle for the struggle of the love of humanity. And so this is where Saturn is restricting that love, and Neptune is exaggerating that love. And so that love is coming into balance and mastery. In essence, with Pluto in sextile to that point, and Uranus now in sextile to that point, Pluto is testing it for authenticity, and Uranus is testing it for simultaneous awareness in the present moment instead of living in the future or the past. So, what is occurring right now with the Virgo new moon, solar eclipse, and fall equinox is that right around this point, right around before, right prior to even this day, in the last couple days, in the last couple weeks, you've noticed endings, culminating endings of whatever was happening before is now over and done with. And so a new way begins. And this testing period has many different cycles interwoven. The first one being that this is the second new moon since August. And so this new moon precedes a cycle all the way into March. It'll be into the March full moon in Virgo next year, 2026, around the time when Neptune and Saturn will start to settle in to gate 25 into the sign of Aries. Right now, Saturn's retrograding into Neptune and visiting that old Piscean karmic energy. And so what we have is we have a new beginning, a new focus, a new day to day, and new structures, new habits for health. So if you failed with your new resolutions on the August 23rd new moon, you have another try now, and this begins now. And so as of every quarter, every specific equinox or solstice, the rulership right angle destiny is the vessel of love. And there's one, two, three, four different versions of it. This is the third version um, because it's on autumnal equinox. And so this third, as all the vessels of love express, the major theme has to do with love of the body, love of form, love of being informed, love of being in the vessel, feeling what it is to be alive, feeling and knowing that life is in the body. It's not in the future or the past, which is mental, but it's in the present, in the body. And how do you know that? How do you know that? You know it when you're breathing. You know it when you're feeling yourself breathe and you're overcoming the addiction to the mind because the mind is an addiction. The mind is like a VHS player, or it's like a recorder, or it's like a computer. You can endlessly replay things on it and rewind and fast forward and pause and re-record. and listen. I mean, one of the funnest things I like to do is listen to the songs that appear in my head. And then if I don't hear the song out too clearly, then I'll find the song and replay it. Some people prefer silence, and I love silence myself. But it's important to live life as if it's a movie and as if you're the star, the narcissist star in the movie. There's nothing wrong with that. That's important because that lightens the life. And the whole theme of the 46 is about lightening the life because there's so much serious wrapped in the shadow aspect of this gate. Being serious, being caught in the seriousness of what it is to be in the mind and live a life that's very, very serious, and you have to do this and you have to do that. We don't have, there's nothing we have to do. There's what we choose to do and the consequences of that. But it's about lightening, as I'm trying to express, it's about lightening, playing in this reality, playing with life, playing with the worlds that we're in and out of these worlds. One thing I think I wanted to mention in the last video is like the fun I like to have with especially with when you're calling to pay off a card or pay off a ticket or and you talk to people who have the jobs, they're on the phones, that and they have to say their lines, they're kind of stuck in their lines for their job. And they'll talk to me and I apologize to them like I don't always hear them because it's really hard to listen to that kind of rote structure of language. It's so generic and it's just so deafening. And I got the 4323, so it's very hard for me to make a lot of effort to actually listen to people. So I'll hear them on the phone and they'll say things to me and I just left my body. I don't know what I'm saying. And so I'll say to them, "Oh, can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry, I left my body." And usually people around me will get a laugh out of it, find it hilarious because I'm essentially just saying what it is. If humans just say what is, it kind of overcomes the simplicity and sometimes calculated structure of language, which tends to calcify and almost become fake. I mean, how often do we say, "How are you" to each other? "Hey, how are you doing?" Well, hey, I'm doing great. Okay, now that these pleasantries are over, how are you really doing? And how am I really doing? Because, it's so fun to like feel that pressure, right? To encapsulate your whole 24 hours or 2 hours of having woken up into one sentence, one sharp, witty little sentence to describe who you are and how you're doing. That's impossible. But we do our best because we only have the time allotted to us each day and only so much time with another person that, that's okay. Like that's all we have. That's the best we can do. And so it's correct, on some level. I myself can't stand it. So I just try to say, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" Or just, "Hey," because I don't want to get into it. We can get into something deeper later, but you know, initially just the greeting. Don't try to pull me out so quickly. I don't want to be pulled out so quickly. Maybe it's the nature of my moon. I don't know. So let me get back to this. So again, I'm speaking on the moon. I'm speaking on, the need for humans to be private, the need for humans to have their own private space, and yet the need to encounter and to jump into the collective when needed, and the 46 on some level is about this because too much isolation can cause too much seriousness of the mind, too much fixation on one's issues and problems and thoughts and then until the seriousness comes about, over kind of thinking and the numbing sensation it causes in the self and the heart. And so I'm just looking at my notes here because I turned off all the lights, so I gotta put the light on my notes. So the 46 rules the blood, and the amino acid is alanine. And so I thought I'd mention some of that. But the big issue here is seriousness. And the major themes here are being in the body. And so that's what I was talking about before I got kind of lost. So being in the body, that's what it is. I mean, in a sense, this is one of the keys to our whole human design, that nothing else is happening. What's happening is here. We are where this is where we need to be. There's nowhere else to go. We're here to be in this body. But of course, we all go in and out, and we're here and we're there. And, sometimes it's fun to leave your body in this way or that way, and then come back. But ultimately, it's about being grounded in the body and feeling into the body, feeling its sensations, sitting with whatever it is that's going on and being okay with that, being okay with the treacherous, horrifying length it takes to kind of feel out an emotion, which we're all kind of in terror over. But ultimately, that's what the body asks, and that's what the body wants. It just wants to sit and feel out things. So that's what it needs to do. And the 46 is about being able to be in the body. And, one of the ways that we are, or several of the ways that we're able to be in our bodies by doing things that kind of clean up the mess inside of our bodies, like massage, physical pleasures, exercise, swimming, whatever it is, whatever you're into, dancing. These are all things that make it necessary to feel fully into being in a body. And yet there's moments of heightened awareness where, you kind of rise high above the body, and that's like a high. That's what people talk about with, taking things and, whatever it is, whatever your drug is, coffee, cocaine, crack, you know, or just, really what it is the dopamine, the serotonin, the inner drugs, right? Or the design of the kind of foreign implementation inside our bodies, which creates its own drugs and makes emotions drugs. Negative emotions can be drugs, just as much as seemingly high emotions can be drugs because they're usually parading as, higher emotions, but really they could just be the opposite extremes. No great heights without corresponding depths. And so the true nature of life is to seek balance, not extremes, but balance. And that goes more into a philosophy of living a life that's, in balance. There's me and there's you, and not going to the extreme of one or the other. And needing one's boundaries. This is about the boundaries of the body, of the self. Like, who am I? Where do I draw the line? Who I am, and then who you are. And not overlapping. We all overlap on some. You put the circles together, and there's an overlap. There's things you share right in the middle, but then there's the whole circle that's you. We must retain that for health. Just like as human design instructs correctly, that it's important to sleep in your own space. It's important for your aura to retain its integrity and to have the space it needs to move and sleep well. And so there's other different layers of this theme of the 46 of, and there's luck that's been associated with this. I'm gonna look and see what some of the things Ra said. I didn't have the chance to reread it. But Ra talked about the nature of being in the body and how there's this obsession with perfection that we humans have. He put it in different words, but we all know this obsession, this feeling we have as humans that we need to refine and improve things. But Ross said it is not something that has to be perfected because it is exactly what it is supposed to be, an aspect of totality, an aspect of the spectrum of things. So what I'm feeling he means here is that just as the process of evolution, our genetic sequences are moving in a state of becoming, so are we never ever to be found in a perfected state because we're constantly, life is constantly playing out through us. Our genetic sequences are starting and stopping with those specific codons. And so many changes are occurring, especially in 2027, that we're always undergoing a process. So it makes the perfecting of us an impossibility. Because what is it we're perfecting if the thematic of a particular gate or center is changing its identity? Many things are going to change in these next couple years and after these next couple years as far as our human process. And so it's hard to know what it is we're perfecting. And Richard Rudd talked about one of the biggest diseases of humans is seriousness, being serious about things, right? Holding on to things too tightly. Now, whether you agree with that or not, one thing for sure that's very difficult for human beings, or is one of the most difficult things, is our need to hold on to things and not being able to let go of a past, but to desperately hold on to an outmoded, calcified structures of things. In other words, like being stuck and not able to move. And so these are all variations of the same idea of that there is some kind of state of being that can be reached or held on to. But there's none of that. There's none of that. There's only what we make of our lives in terms of, okay, we have this goal, we have that goal. But even those goals and the avenues and the highways to get to those goals, that's something that we cannot hold on to either. Because we may have a goal, but who's to say how we get there? In fact, this was one of the main ideas of Robert Schneider, one of my favorite teachers. He always says that when you are trying to put something into the world, go ahead and make it clear to yourself what you want to happen. What it is you want to happen, that's fine. That goal, like visualize it, write it out, journal. Like there's power in speaking, there's power in writing. But one thing he said was really clear was you're not, you cannot say how it is going to happen. That's not your business. That's not your fucking business to even decide or control how your goal or your vision is going to occur. That's not up to you. That's up to the world. The world will decide how and when that will occur. All we have control over is perhaps the vision of what we want. And even then, that's just a vision. That's just a premonition. That's just a precognition of the future. It's just a picture we're lending or we're borrowing from our future that's already been laid out, that we've been able to grasp and pull in. But we really have no say on how things occur. It's like the idea or the expression I always come to from Baudrillard's Matrix books, where the author talked about how he was driving one day. No, no, not that story. How he talks about how he talked about these times, like in 2003, 2004, when Matrix 5 came out. And he said that at some point, we're gonna come across these times of experiences during, he called it endgame, is what he called it. And he said, you'll be set up, you'll know what's happening to some degree, and you'll be planning, like you'll be driving down the road of your life, and you're pretty set, you're pretty clear that you need to make a right turn. But at any minute, something could change and shift, and maybe a left turn is needed. And so you have to be in your body, you have to be present and aware in case you need to take that left turn instead. It's like a story one of my cousins told me. It was a great story about how she was at an intersection and the light turned red and she was in her car and she just observed that she did not take her foot off the brakes and switch it to the gas pedal. And she noticed that several other cars in other areas of the intersection did the same. They didn't move. And within a span of, who knows, maybe 10, 15 seconds, a car came racing through that intersection. And so it's the body that knows what's going on. It's not the mind that knows. The mind can be informed. The intelligence of the body runs through, it's not prejudiced against any particular part of the body's awareness. The mind can be informed by the intelligence that moves energetically through the entire body. But in that moment, everyone's body in the intersection was aware and responded to that. It felt in its field that something was awry and something was going to occur in that intersection. And so nobody moved. So it's the body's intelligence that we're really living through, you know? It's not about satiating the mind from fear. It's about making sure the body feels safe. And that's why humans are very sensitive. A body is going to respond to trauma. Like even with animals, like when there's abuse on a body, the body remembers that, until the body can fully heal from that. And so I'm sure many of you experienced where you say yes to something or agree with it. It's especially common here in the West Coast where people go, yeah, sure, we could do this, or yeah, we maybe, or yeah, that seems possible. But all those are like no's, right? They're all no's. It's the body saying, expressing, no, no, that's not correct for me. And so the body is communicating to the throat center, to manifestation for the words to come out. And sometimes those words don't come out. But what it is, it's our bodies that are kind of walking us around, if that makes sense, leading us, to where they feel safe or not. Like it's fun sometimes when my day's over, when my work is over, sometimes I'll just go park in a city and I might have an idea of where I want to go, but sometimes I'll just walk to where I, as in the body, wants to go. And so I think I'm stretching this out because I want to underscore the importance of paying attention to your body. But you're not even really paying attention to your body. Just pay attention to how you move throughout your own day. And just watch how your body leads and your mind does not lead. As much as your mind tries to lead or pretends it's leading, watch how your body takes you where it wants to go. And so this is what it is. This is gate 46. This is recognition of the body. And it's also about the love you have for your body. And it's about taking care of your body, as I've really mentioned before. And I mean, accepting your body how it is. I mean, I'm sure many of you recognize in life when it comes down to it, it's never about whether a body is skinny or fat or, muscle bound or sinuous and curvaceous. It's not about those things. It's the amount, how would I say this? You've all recognized this. It's the amount of delight and light that shines from the eyes of the soul expressing through that body. There's something really contagious about those who are playful and excited and carry the delight of a child within them. And we all know this because we all have animals or around animals, especially children and babies, especially that, babies are not fully integrated into the body. That's a whole process. A baby is like a soul whose light is just beginning to be solidified into the body, but it's not complete. There's still so much light. The aura is so full of a child, of a baby. The golden light around the aura, it's just so intense and powerful. And we all feel that. And I mean, that's what it is. That's what attraction is. That's what attracts us to others is that kind of light. And sometimes it's also the reverse. Uh, Sometimes it could be the addiction of trauma patterns and being unable to release what's familiar. And it could be in reverse. It could be attracting to something that's different. But that's mostly like patterns of addiction to, what we've experienced around our parents and those type energies. And that's very common with us humans is we tend to marry our mother or our father because it's a comfortable frequency. It's the frequency we're most comfortable with, even though it might be a negative, ultimately, partially a negative frequency, not ultimately, but because it might have been something, it might be more of a trauma-based addiction or a trauma connection. And so the other themes here is like what I'm discussing when I'm talking about in terms of the 46, gate 46 is like being able to live life in a way that's very light, holding on to your goals and what you want in life and but holding on to those things lightly because we don't know what the plan is for us. Like I said before, we don't know the plan. This reminds me of a book I would integrate in my teaching a lot. Let's see if I remember it. It's a movie was made out of it. I think it was called The Way of something Warrior. Let's see if I wrote it down. I was looking to watch the movie earlier, but I couldn't find it online. I think it's The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This was a book that came out in the 80s. And the guy who wrote it did many books. I'm forgetting his name right now, but very simple book. I actually found a graphic novel a while back and I was teaching that to students. And The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, in that book, there's an athlete and he's like a gymnast and he has a real craving to be successful, but he gets a pretty bad injury. And his teacher's like some kind of, metaphysical teacher. It's never really revealed what kind of teacher he is, but he's just kind of teaching him about life. And the student himself is really stuck on, getting a gold medal or something, right? He has his whole team and he's supposed to go to this event or this something, but he ends up hurting himself. And I think his teacher ends up kind of teaching him how to heal himself. But at some point, there's a real crisis, and there's several crises during the book, but there's one where he's realizing that he might not be able to go and compete, that he really injured himself and he's not going to be able to get there. And I remember Nick Nolte plays in the film version, says something to him very directly and says, I guess he's yelling, he's upset. He's like, I want to win. I want to win the trophy. And then like Nolte's character says, the trophy is it's just a craving. It's not who you are. And he explains it much better than I'm explaining it right now, but what he's teaching him throughout the book is to understand that life is not something you can plan out. You can present your wishes and present your visions of what you want to happen, but how you will have those things is not up to you. And so it's so important to let go of those paths to get there and to how you're going to get there. And even sometimes how those paths will look. I remember in my studies in my psychic school, we talked about something called perfect pictures. And this is something I use a lot in my practice because I see it so much. I mean, it's with all of us, and it's something that is just hammered into our heads, hammered into our minds. My life has to look like this. It has to have this over here and that over there in order for me to call it a perfected life or a correct life. Like it has to be a certain way. But it's just an addiction. It's a craving. It's an obsession. It's not human. Human is to be light, is to be lighthearted and to be an allowance and acceptance of how things play out. Because you don't know, maybe that injury could, I think it's the case with the kid is like, I think he gets injured and then he meets somebody. He meets someone who's going to become his like partner for life or something like that, which is something really magical. He could have gone and won the Olympics or whatever it was, the gym stuff with his team, but instead he gets really hurt and goes to a hospital and ends up meeting someone who becomes his partner, for the rest of his life, or something like that. It's just a good metaphor, right? Again, we don't know how our goals or what we want to experience, we don't know how it's going to happen, so we have to be an allowance of all the possible directions that life takes us. What looks like a failure could be a success. What looks like success could be a failure. We don't know. We don't know the true face of anything until time has revealed it to us. Just like we don't always know someone we meet right away. We don't. Only time can tell us the truth of who that person is and who we are at the same time. And so Gate 46 brings up all these questions and it asks us to be light with life and not become so solidified, so constricted, so stuck on things happening a certain way in our lives, but to hold on to things just lightly enough so that we can let go if we need to. It's like in a car accident, if you're going to be hit by a car, it's like, is it is it is it best to brace for impact? To brace for impact means to brace, to constrict the body. I think I've heard more injury happens if you brace for impact. Although I really enjoy the song by Flotsam and Jetsam called Brace for Impact. But my point is I don't think it's correct. Like I think it's been said that it's better for the body not to know and not to brace because then it's loose. So then the movement of being hit, the body can flow with it. And ultimately that's what life is. It's a series of hits, especially for 3/5s in human design, where you're like crashing into life. But, who's to say it's a crash? It's just a meeting of life. It's just a meeting head on, and it's just movement. It's just a roller coaster ride. And we have to move with it. There's no there's no bracing, like you're in your seat, but you're moving. You have the bar around you or the belt around you, wherever, whatever it is. But you're flowing with it in whatever direction it goes, allowing for that, trusting that the body's intelligence will bring you what's correct. And so that's what it is. I'm going to peek up my notes, see if there's anything else I wanted to share in relation to Gate 46. Maybe just again that it is an eclipse. So it's an eclipse occurring in the 46, which means that it's lights out for the body for a moment. And so 46 is going through some kind of process where it's dying and living again. In a sense, that's what an eclipse is. It's like a little death. And so it's like the battery going out, and getting a recharge in your car. And so we have another opportunity here to another new moon to really structure our days and start new dietary habits and to just really take care of ourselves and be tough and give the body what it needs and not be weak and give in to addictions, but to be strong and start daily habits that will bring a new way, a new level of health and awareness and strength to the body. And we'll need it because Jupiter in Cancer is bringing us all kinds of up and down extremes as it also squares the Aries vortex, squares gate 25 here. And Jupiter right now is in 62. And 62 is right here, trying to figure out what its opinion is. What is its opinion of what's going on right now, and how that's changing so much. But really, it's the opinion should be all the same. It's just a show, it's just a movie. It's quite obvious. It's so clear when you have, what happened on September 10th, and you have so many different stories about what's going on. It just tells you that all those stories are false. It's just another act, scene two in the play, and just really distraction. And the focus right now is the body and where are you at in regards to your body. And so hopefully that was helpful to you all. I'll see you guys soon. I think Tool and I may do Mercury this week. I haven't discussed that with her yet, but hopefully we'll do that video soon. We did the sun and the moon in our series so far. And so that's one thing there. And then Gary and I will either start a new series or do the next in our financial series. I'm really fascinated to see what's going on with this Jupiter in Cancer hitting America's sun because in a way it looks like, I mean, we all know that economics is going to have a big change in the United States of what's going on, but it might be a shock to see what direction it goes, almost both directions. Because what's going on now with crypto, what they're doing, it could be something that could really resolve things in a certain way. I mean, regardless, there's going to be suffering, there's going to be intensity, but looks just real interesting with Jupiter. And I think I'll leave it at that. I don't think there's anything else. So otherwise, see you guys in the next vid. Thanks for watching, and thanks so much. I really appreciate you all who leave comments. I will get back to responding to comments fully. There's some great questions and points and shares and appreciations and gratitudes, and I really appreciate all that. And thank you all so much. And I'll see you in the next video.